And guess
Yeah,
what?
asking questions.
Well, after the live, that's when they watch it. And guess what, dude? We are live right now.
Oh, okay, awesome.
So welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My friend Brian Claeys. How you doing, Brian?
Oh, fantastic.
Cool. Let me see your shirt real quick. Sit
Yeah,
up if you can, just a little bit.
yeah,
Dog bless Texas. Love it.
that's right.
So you're in Utah, right? No, just kidding.
Yeah, yeah, in Idaho, actually. No, no, I'm
uh,
down here in downtown Dallas, Texas, and our business is in Carrollton, Texas, which is just a suburb of Dallas.
oh, Adrian Forsyth is calling me here. Look, everybody can see her name. That's what she comes up when she calls me. So,
Yeah,
but sorry. So say that again. It's a suburb of where?
of Dallas, Texas. Yeah.
Okay. And you are the founder of All Dogs on the.
Co-founder. So it was actually me and my best bud from high school, Travis Lux. We came down and started All Dogs. He was actually living in Dallas, Texas, in 2007. So I moved from South Dakota at the time, but I'm from Sioux City, Iowa, which is right there, down to Texas to give it a whirl and be a dog trainer. Prior to that, I had worked a ton of sales jobs, but I was a sales manager at Gateway Computers,
Yeah, the
and I'd
cow.
worked, yeah, the cow, exactly. So, but that was a call center job, and even if it was a good living, it wasn't very satisfying. But I kept finding myself in situations when Acer purchased Gateway,
Oh, yes.
we were eventually going to get let go. I left prior to getting let go by the company because I decided that I wanted to move to Texas and try this dog, or go 100% at this dog training thing.
So, and I remember I talked to you about this before, it was either dog training or something else. What was it? I can't remember that
Oh,
you were gonna.
moving a moving company, yeah. So my dad
Okay,
always he owned
that's
moving
right.
companies, and I moved furniture growing up, and I was like, well, that's something I could go anywhere and I could start this and do this and be successful at.
Oh, there she is. Oh shit, you're live. That's what she just said.
Yeah.
I just showed that you were calling Adrian. Yeah, everybody, what's up? Say, share this. I gotta share it, and I gotta tag you. What's up? She says.
Welcome,
I
ladies and
love it.
gentlemen. My friend. Yeah, everybody,
There we
what's up?
go. So, oh, you found it, obviously, on your phone there, so I can hear it. So just share it.
Yeah, I think. Oh, okay, yeah. I'm
Just
not
share
gonna.
it if you can, and I gotta share it too.
Share
So,
this. I gotta share it, and I gotta tag you.
See here.
yeah, yeah, it's all the fancy new technology. So, are you glad that you went into the dog?
Oh man, it's been. I mean, again, starting a business from scratch and not having a lot of money and starting to train dogs out of your house is not easy, and it's not for the faint of soul because there's really no days off. You want to take a vacation, good luck. It's not happening. We never shut down the business for like a month to take a trip because you would have to schedule dogs, you'd have to cancel dogs 2 weeks out, get all your dogs home. You're basically missing out on a month's worth of revenue as we run a 2 week board and train. So it
Mm.
just wasn't possible. And we were starting a business with two people. So that's two mouths to feed. So it was important for us to keep working and have a lot of dogs coming in to continue to make some money and get ahead. And it's funny because when we started, nowadays we're able all as dog trainers to charge a lot more than we used to when we first started. We were only charging 11.50 for a two dog or a board and train, and then a two dog was 17.50.
Okay.
So in 2007, all the way up, I don't think we raised our prices till like 2015, 2016. Travis and I were young. We didn't know a lot. We just knew we
Young
kept
and
booking
hungry, man.
dogs, man. Yeah, young and hungry,
Yeah,
exactly.
young. I know all about it. And so, can you scoot over to it's like opposite of where you think you're gonna go, right there.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yep. And Adrian actually said, she says, and Adrian and I are gonna be chatting. We're gonna be doing another live stream when she's ready. She's out there moving and shaking with her new Malinois. Um, and she thinks she's industry has two parts, and I'd have to agree with her. She says those who started young grew up in it, and those who discovered it. And it's also the people. And I was just talking to one of my, I guess you can call her one of my apprentices now, because she has a dog. She has a shithead dog. One of my
Yeah.
old employees went to Oklahoma, came back and found a dog that was like on the road somewhere, and now we're training it up. But she confided in me that she wants to be a dog trainer. And I think that like there's people that discover it, there's people that grow up in it, but there's also the people that have a need where they have a dog and they love this dog and they want to figure out how to live a good life with this animal. And a lot of times in doing so, they recognize not just the need that they filled themselves, but they also recognize the need in the industry, and they become a professional in doing that too. So that's another, I mean, that would fall into the second aspect of people discovering it. But I think that it's fair to mention how they discovered it and the motivation for them getting into it, right? So
Yeah.
and let me see. And if you guys are here, say hi, share this right now. We're live right now. And we have hello, good to see you again. What's up, Michelle? Michelle is a wonderful makeup artist in Florida, and she got COVID. Hope you're feeling better. And we vacation when no one else wants to. LOL. Mr. the Man is joining us as well. Nelson, how you doing, buddy? So, yeah. So you Gateway Computers, Belly Up, Texas, Travis. You guys have started, and you're not charging that much, but you are.
Yeah, we weren't charging that much. And then prior to that, I mean, the only reason we really got into the dog training is we both grew up with trained dogs. You know, being from Iowa, my dad always had hunting dogs, you know, and they were, you know, labs, and they were easy money, right? But they were trained. We'd always send them away and have them trained professionally. So that was super cool. And then my buddy started a company called Midwest Dog Training, and he was working at Gateway Computers about the same time. And that's when I saw, like, holy cow, you can actually make money doing this. Now, granted, he was living in South Dakota, driving to Minneapolis to get dogs, so driving to Kansas City to get dogs. But he was charging enough to where it was worth it for him, you know. But he was doing really well. He was able to quit his job at Gateway and do that. And when I saw him do that, I was like, oh, you know, this is definitely something that's possible. So that's what really kind of drove us. So we learned a little bit from him and enough to get started, but we quickly realized like we need to keep learning as much as we possibly can. And there's two ways to learn. One is to go seek out information from other people. So we did a lot of that. And the other is just hands-on. You gotta start doing it, you know.
Through experience, man.
Exactly.
Sink or swim. And Adrian has a good question here. As a discoverer of the dog training industry, how do you navigate the business versus the industry standard?
So I really don't focus on anybody but except what we're doing. And we really want to be as good as we can be, because at the end of the day, the only reason we're in business is to help people. Like, we have customers, they have a problem. They're trusting us to help them solve that problem. You know, they're the real hero in the story, because now they're going to be able to go out there and they're going to tell their story, and then people are going to hear that, and then they come back to us because they're like, oh wow, you helped them, maybe they can help me too. So really trying to, it's a customer service industry, and if you don't realize that as a dog trainer, you're falling behind. You know, people love the social media, they love the cute fluffy stuff, but they also like training that works. It has to work, because you have people live. Yeah, they have people living in situations where they're struggling, and living in this downtown high rise, I see it all the time. I'll see a lady with two dogs in a stroller, but it's caged in because the dogs are freaking out trying to jump out of it. Another, you know, you got dogs with muzzles walking around. They can't walk by another dog without lunging or pulling. And these are big obstacles, especially when you're coming out of an elevator and you got three people trying to come in. Right. So being able to impact some of these people's lives is super awesome. But the only way to impact it effectively is give them a good customer experience. But then the hardest part about dog training is training the owner, and that's what we've really gotten extremely well at. So good that we offer lifetime follow-up with all of our programs, so that way if they ever did feel like a need for help, they can raise their hand and know, like, hey, I'm not going to get nickeled and dimed and whatever. At the end of the day, we want them to be successful because they're going to be on the streets getting us more business.
Yeah, well, and you're standing behind your philosophy and what you do. Now, what do you say to somebody, Brian, who says to you, hey, man, I want to train dogs because I don't like people?
Yeah, no, an introvert is not going to return a dog to my customer. It's just not going to happen. Even when I'm hiring a dog trainer, I'm not out there saying, hey, I'm looking for a dog trainer. I'm looking for somebody that can walk into a family's home because they're trusting in us enough to bring us in their home and have a delightful experience with their family. And that's the type of person that's really going to shine, because now that the customer feels comfortable enough to ask them questions, maybe they didn't feel comfortable asking somebody else. We're making the custom. This is their first time doing this. I mean, I remember being a year into it and meeting dog trainers and still thinking I barely knew anything. So imagine how little these people know. And
Yeah,
our
for
job as the trainer isn't to make them a professional trainer, it's just to give them enough information to fix their issues.
well, and to be a good communicator. And not only that, but to know when to stop with the information when they've had enough. And so they're not drinking from a fire hose. We're not overwhelming our clients, just like we're not overwhelming our dogs, right? We
You're
don't want to put
absolutely
them in,
right. Small
right?
wins and keep it simple.
Small wins, keep it simple. I
Yeah.
love that, you guys. That's a good model to live by. And a lot of times too, like my clients are excited and they see that they hired the real deal, and we're getting some ground covered, and we're providing solutions, and they're like, okay, now what about this and this and this? And I'm like, we'll get there.
Yeah, exactly.
Keep it simple, but it's just slow. I say slow is fast and less is more, right? And especially when they're motivated and excited, we have to kind of settle down into it and know, like, look, man, this is, we belong to a push button society with all these phones that we have, and this technology, which is excellent. It gives us, access to so much information immediately. And I find that sometimes people need to be reminded that it doesn't work like that in the physical world with behavior in an animal. And it's like, we need to slow it down, you guys, and celebrate our wins, right? And but also keep our eye on that big prize. And how do you feel dog training industry does as a whole in the translation of art and passion to a viable business? I guess it's a juxtaposition of like, of the motives behind it, I guess, right? Um, and if you're really not doing it, because I don't know if it's necessarily an art passion more than just a good idea, or it makes sense to delve into that industry, right?
Yeah, at the end of the day, it is a job. You're having to do work, and guess what? Some days you're not going to feel good, and you still got to go. you know so you're going to be passionate about it at a certain sense. The one thing I get excited about now mostly is working with the staff that we have, the trainers, because even currently right now we have 72 dogs there for training. In the summer we'll run 100 dogs every 2 weeks, all through the summer. But I got a staff of 8, 9 trainers, and we're pumping dogs out. But being able to work with them and each dog individually and see these results, and then they have to pass the red face test. That's what I always call it. When the owner shows up and they want to see their dog, we always do a demonstration for the owner before they actually get to come out and play with the dog, and dog gets excited. So that's what I call passing the red face test. We even tell our customers, look, you just pay half the day you start, the other half at the end when you can actually see it for yourself. It's part of our 2-part guarantee with the lifetime follow-up. But the trainers, they wear that. They'll be a little stressed before the return, hoping the dog doesn't mess up, and
Yeah.
and it's important, and it's cool too because they get assigned certain dogs, so they're in contact with those customers and building a relationship throughout this 2 weeks prior to them even getting their dog back. So there's a lot more trust established, which makes everything a lot better, and it helps a lot with reviews. And if you do own a dog training business, you should know exactly how important those are, especially in this age.
Yeah, social proof, man, And so you do boarding, daycare, and training.
Yeah, once so we were training dogs out of our house, and I remember going home, we were like 2 years into it, and I went home for Christmas, and I was looking at my parents, I was like, man, like it's going, like everybody kind of laughed, and I was like, I'm moving to Texas to be a dog trainer. So I come home and I'm just worn out. I had a paper route when I was a kid, so I knew how to wake up every day to do something. But yeah, it was like the first time I was able to go home for Christmas for a few days, and I was just like, yeah, this is tough. I was like, we need to get a facility. And it's kind of like your business is like a fish tank, the smaller tank you have, that's all the bigger the fish is going
The
to get.
aquarium.
Yeah, so we needed a bigger fish tank. And then once we were able to get the facility, it alleviated me having dogs at my house, and it allowed a lot more time because now people can come to me. They can drop their dog off. I was picking up every dog. That was part of our package, free pickup and delivery, So,
Within 30
um,
minutes or your dog training is free. No, just kidding.
no, yeah.
No, but it's like, I also think that having a facility kind of brings about, it ups the ante as far as professionalism is concerned.
It changes a lot. And once you have the facility, now it's like, okay, who's at your front desk? One thing that we always make it a point to do, if I go to a new city, I'll stop in 3 or 4 kennels just to check them out, see the setup, see the layouts, what's new, and what's the tour like? How's this person greeting me? How welcome do I feel?
That's right.
Because all those things are a big deal, and you see a difference. I've been just blown away by some of the tours that I've got in a positive manner and a negative manner. I'd never say anything or anything like that, but
Give us the dirt. No, just kidding.
but when you see somebody that, like, one time I was in Oklahoma City and I went to this one, and this guy blew me away with his tour, and I was just like, this is what
This is
we
the way
should
we
be
do
doing.
it.
Yeah, this is how you do it. Exactly. So that kind of stuff's really cool. So always trying to be improving. Understand it's a customer service gig.
You know what Kaizen is?
No.
So Kaizen means improvement in Japanese. And it happens to be the philosophy. It's a kind of a philosophical approach to business. Ash, come here. Ash thinks that he owns the couch over here, and he tries to kick the old guy off. And every
How
time
old Ashley now? Because I think
6.
last time, yeah, it's been about 6.5, 7 years since we met
Yeah, isn't that crazy, man? I
at an
mean,
IACP
yep.
convention.
I missed the last one. Did you go to the last one in Florida?
No, actually, that was the only one that I ever have been to.
That is good information for facilities. Good stuff, Brian. Yeah, absolutely. Well, remember this, you guys. Remember, I mean, Brian was in computer, so it's like corporations spend billions and billions of dollars to get you to view their product in the emotional arena, in the emotional light, because we as human beings, we are 10 times more likely to act based on emotion than we are on pure intellect, right? And guess where the dogs live? They live in the emotional arena. We love our clients love these animals, right? And so if you do not take advantage of the opportunity to give this client an experience with this animal that they love so much, if you don't take that opportunity to take advantage of that, I mean, it's something that, I mean, is $1 billion advantage that we have as dog trainers, but it's also, it comes as a double-edged sword because of, I mean, we can't think with our emotions, and we find situations where people kind of get off into the ditch trying to think with the emotions with the relationship with their animal. But as a business owner, it's important to realize the weight of the animal in the relationship that we are participating in with our client. And it's extremely important, man. And I even think that it's important that maybe we should have some doggy shadow shoppers. Like when I was a waiter, you ever work in the restaurant industry or anything,
Yeah,
Brian?
no, well, in the kitchen. I was
Right.
expo.
Well, I mean, but even in the kitchen, they would have the secret reviewer or something, right? The guy that would go out there and he can make or break a restaurant on his review, right?
Yeah,
It's like Dave Portnoy with these pizza reviews that he's doing,
yeah.
and it's I mean, let's get back on track
Well,
here. So
we try to take it a step further, and we just put cameras, and I got microphones pretty much in our lobby. Because sometimes you'll have a customer say that they said something that they didn't say,
yeah,
or there's just a lot of things that happen. So when we built the kennel, we have no blind spots, so that way, if anything ever happened to a dog, we know exactly what's going on.
yeah,
We have 38 people that work there, so it's like If you see something inappropriate, you know. So the place runs extremely well, but there's no blind spots, and you can hear too. So even when the trainers are doing the returns, I can like watch in, listen in. So it's really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, and the transparency is, I think transparency is excellent.
Hmm.
Like one of my favorite quotes is secrecy is the enemy of healing. Right. And I know we're not healing anything, but it's like that just speaks to the strength of transparency and kind of no shadows in there. As a dog owner, I'm quickly learning from my own fault. What were you saying, Brian?
Oh, I was gonna say it eliminates assumptions.
Well, and not only that, but that ups the ante too on the degree of professionalism as well, man. You're always on camera, you're always recorded. Like just know
Yeah,
that.
absolutely.
And so as a dog owner, I'm quickly learning that it's all my fault.
Yeah.
We both are we're getting there. I know it's had enough. I know if I've had enough. Cool. Well, I mean, as long as you're getting there and I'm here for you, we're all here for you, and you got an awesome little dog. So Adrian wants to know, how do you train new trainers?
So we have a influx of dogs. So we got a lot of dogs, right? So normally we have break-in trainers, and they're the ones that are touching the dogs like the first 4 or 5 days, and they're just throwing a slip lead on the dog, maybe a pinch collar or something like that. Sometimes just depending on the dog. Some dogs don't like pinch collars. You just take it right off,
Yeah.
but it's really effective. And then you just go them through the drills, and you're just using food and you're trying to have fun with them, you're getting them excited. So the break-in trainers are just doing that section of it. And then once they're ready, then we'll switch them over to the training collar, which is going to help us transition to the house, especially because a lot of times, owners really struggle being able to communicate with a dog, and the e-collar just makes it so much easier,
Yeah.
especially for helping with unwanted stuff and helping make it the dog's own idea and eliminating you from being reactive all the time.
Well, absolutely.
And,
Well, it gives
so
them a different protocol. Good night, Nelson. Good to see you, bud. And I would love to do a live stream with one of you, with you one of these days too, Nelson. Well, and I think too, I mean, it speaks to this technology too, man. Like the people, they have a button, they want a button to push. They have,
yeah.
and when they have a solution, I do, especially for pet dog world, I do value that e-collar, man. And
Yeah.
that's why a lot of these most of the most successful franchises, they adhere to an e-collar regiment because it works.
Yeah. No, it's as far as that's what we would not be able to offer lifetime follow-up without that, obviously. Like that would be like, and you go to other places that just do positive reinforcement only. You'll be like, do you guarantee results? They'll be like, well, no, we don't guarantee. It just depends on how well they're gonna do. So you don't really know what you're gonna get. This I can guarantee, like, hey, this is what you're gonna get. And there are some dogs, everybody knows that some dogs can't be trained that quickly and whatever, and they are going to be more challenging. And we don't charge our customer extra, but if we highlight the dogs right when they come in, if they're really difficult, and then we start doing extra, and then we'll keep them for a week extra, we won't charge the customer anything extra. But that goes a long way with the customer too. They know what we're doing. They know we're not charging them extra. They know from the get-go the dog's a difficult dog. So sometimes we're going to have to spend more time with dogs, but it's really not a big deal.
Well, sometimes you get push button dogs too. That's
Yeah.
what I call the ones
Yeah,
that
we
are
get easy one.
eager to
Yeah, easy
please,
money. Yeah. Yeah.
and so that's the rub here, man, is that sometimes you get the outliers, you get the good outliers, and sometimes you get the bad outliers, and then the rest are kind of in that bell curve. Um, yeah. So why lifelong support? That's what somebody just asked. From business and ethical life, so why lifelong support?
It's a selling point. We're selling the service. And I did a refresh one time for a dog that I trained 7 years prior, and within 15 minutes, it was doing everything again. So we're doing enough repetitions during this time. This dog's not going to forget. It's going to remember, like, oh, this guy again. So the refresh is easy, but it's a selling point, and then also it's just good service. And I'm not saying I'm going to take the dog back and train it, and they're not going to be there. You better believe when we're doing a follow-up lesson, they're coming, they're going to show me what they've been working on because we've already worked together a little bit. I'm going to compliment them on a few things, and we're going to improve a few things.
Yeah.
And then because we're just doing these additional or commands that we establish, like coming when called, walk nice, sit, stay, go to your dog bed, stay, and show you how to stop the unwanted stuff. There's not much. We're not going advanced training. They're not coming to me for like follow up to learn how to track, you know?
Yeah, it's pet dog,
So,
pet dog
yeah,
work.
exactly. We're just keeping it so simple. And sometimes people like their dog might struggle being reactive towards other dogs. Well, I'm not going to ask them to practice with their neighbor, you know? Like, hey, come down here. I got, 30 dogs. I could pull some dogs out. We can work on this.
Huh. Is there any other, she wants to know, is there any other service that offers a life after initial service? Let me think. I don't know. I'm trying to think here. I mean, I'm sure there
I'm
is.
sure there is.
I mean, sure there is. I mean, it's like just like the Ginsu knives or the Cutco free sharpening for life. It's just like that's a service that they provide that just attacks on to their what they're doing. That's a value added,
And I will tell
right?
you, like, we train a lot of dogs, and we don't have many people abusing that,
Right.
you
And if you
know.
did,
So,
then you can call out that person and just be like, "Hey,
yeah, if it
man,
was too much, then we could say, like, yeah, you're right. I'll, if I didn't want to deal with it anymore, I could just be like, hey, I'll just give you your money back. This has been a hard one, whatever.
yeah."
But most of the time, all of it's super, super easy stuff. And sometimes there's some challenging dogs, and they do need that extra help, and it's nice to be able to be there for them.
Cool. Well, and it's like, I mean, it's just it's like that value added thing, I guess. I mean, and now you're actually branching out, and you've formed it into a franchise where you have multiple. I think you said 5, right?
So there's 14 other owners,
Or 14
six,
owners now.
16 locations, yeah.
So where
So
are you located? All over America or
yeah, so we have
Texas?
one in Denver. My brother-in-law, he came down, trained dogs with us for a while. He went off and started Denver.
Oh, would you
My
look at
my
that?
my cousin Aaron, he does Kansas City. He also worked with us for like a year and a half here, and then he went off and started Kansas City.
Okay.
One of our first employees, Eduardo Dominguez, he owns Charlotte, North Carolina. He actually worked for us when he was 19 or 18 years old, just scoop and poop. We got him training dogs. I sponsored him to become a citizen, and then he moved to Charlotte and started his own. And this year he's going to hit over $1 million in revenue.
Awesome.
So there's some really awesome stories. Travis's uncles, one does it in Des Moines, one does it in Omaha, Nebraska. We had one of our customers do it in Shreveport, but he did not like living in Shreveport so much. So we purchased Shreveport for him, but now he moved to Colorado Springs to do it out there.
Oh wow, cool.
Uh, there's a couple more, but I can't think of. Oh,
Yeah.
Minneapolis, Minnesota. A kid that I used to go to high school with, not kid, but Tony Kelly. He quit being an electrician, moved out to Minneapolis, Minnesota, and he's doing extremely well. He's loving it. And then his brother does Nashville. So it's really cool because right now all of our growth was organic. Um, so now we're like, okay, this is working. We have a really solid business model. And for somebody that's like training dogs out of their house and wants to take it to the next step, we have it all figured out, all the way from the marketing to the sales process. I'd say 95% of the dogs that come through our kennel, they may come, see it, drive by, something like that. But a lot of times, the first time they're meeting us is when they walk in that first day because we're selling all these deals over the phone.
Okay. And then is there like a yearly seminar or something with your franchise owners? Do you guys get together to keep
So we
up
do
with?
Zoom calls monthly,
Okay.
and then obviously me and Travis are always available if they ever had a question or something comes up. But and they came and spent a lot of time down here training dogs, and everybody kind of talks to each other too. So we have a really strong community.
Yeah, my skipper keep barking at me in her crate down here. She's like, "Get me out of here, dude." That's awesome, man. I mean, and the cool thing is now it's kind of growing into the family, where you kind of made the first step and at Christmas coming back home, and
Well, my
now
little brother works for me. One of my best buds works for me in sales. I just hired Caesar at the beginning of this or last year, which is a good friend of mine. He's one of our top trainers now. Just great communicator. People love him. My dad does some of our calls. He's retired, but he just wanted to be involved, so he'll do some of the franchise calls. It's really cool, man. It's a lot of fun.
what red flags do you see when hiring employees, or what tips do you have? Like, how do you and what's your ideal? I mean, you have 38 employees at that location there, so.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I'm lucky because I don't have to hire each person individually, but I hired the people that hire those people. Um, and really, it's like you have to be a good employer. Like being an employer is important. It's a job too.
Of
You have to
course.
treat people fairly. The nice thing about the training business is compared to like a Camp Bow Wow or these other places that maybe don't do as high a revenue because we're training so many dogs, I can pay these guys a lot better. So that's helping me keep staff, and then keeping people is really important because if I have to keep hire and lose, hire, lose, I mean that's just so much wasted time. But paying these people extra to where they stick around, they're vested in it, they care about it. I'm showing my face down there every day. You know, we have conversations, and everybody just kind of like that's what's helping keep people. And then I have Mark, which is our director, and a couple managers down there, and they're doing the hiring. But for the most part, when people come in, we make sure to spend the time to train them effectively, and then we keep a really clean, organized place. So a lot of people have worked at kennels previously, and they'll always comment like, "Wow, this is the most organized or well put together one that I've worked at." So
Well, and I think that sometimes we have to look at the philosophy of some people in the industry, and I just can't agree with it, man. Like I think that it's fair to compensate people fairly, man. Like there's no reason in my mind where I think of not paying somebody to do a task for me. And there's these gigs that I know that they're like apprenticeships or something, but they're unpaid. And I think that there's people that live on site or something like that, but it's just not. I just can't get behind it, man. I can't get behind it. I think that people are put into kind of a vulnerable position with that. And um, yeah, I can talk more into this on a further episode. I'll talk about, I like to hear that. I like to hear that you are paying your people good. I like to hear, that you value that because people deserve that. And you're going to find out that you're going to attract a higher clientele. And just like we were talking about with the facility and with the audio visual, now with the compensation packages, it just ups that ante even more as a professionalism, what you expect, but also, what you reflect and what your philosophy in the corporate culture that you have. Um, I like it, man. I think that it's going to attract some solid people.
no, we've been very, very blessed. Every time something like where we lost somebody, like it always seems to work out. Yeah, God is good. So
And I think that has been the biggest challenge as an entrepreneur is employees for me. And just like, I mean, I think that you reach this point. I had 12, so I didn't reach up to 38. Um, but you just start reaching this juggling point, and then if you just hire good people, man.
yeah,
Um,
believe me, when we were first starting, like I could tell you a story. We hired this guy, Damien, and Damien was cool. I think he had issues outside of what was happening here. But me, I always wanted to help everybody. So this guy's taking the bus to work, so I'm like, whatever. I'm gonna help get Damien a car. I give this dude $1,300 to buy a car, and he blows it, and just he still came to work for a couple months, but then he ended up getting like we was the holidays, and we were like, hey, do you know anybody else that could come into work? He brings his nephew. Him and nephew get in a fist fight in the back. Like, so crazy things can happen with people, man. It's like, so we had to let him go. But I mean, just yeah, we've had our fair share of issues, but I will say like the last 4 or 5 years have been fantastic. The COVID was a big scare for everybody, right?
oh yeah.
We were very fortunate to where like the first month when COVID hit, the phone stopped ringing and we were, empty, but we still had, people boarding like customers, doctors, that they needed the daycare and stuff that were still having to work. So we got considered essential. It was really cool. We got to stay open, right? And then people started spending time at home with their dogs. And we actually, pre-COVID, I think we did like 2.1 million. And then the year of COVID, we were closed that month and we hit 2.7 million.
Very
So we
cool.
actually went up during COVID for revenue, which was really cool.
Well, do you have a lot of SOPs? And people that don't know SOPs, standard operating procedures. I think you do because we were chatting about this.
Oh
Right?
yeah, so at our
Everything.
kennel, there's different positions. So you have your front staff. They have their own duties. Like they're in contact with the customers, checking food daily, nicks, scratches, cuts. So checking people in, checking people out, dealing with daycare, sending updates, stuff like that. Then you have your trainers. The trainers are, training dogs, doing returns, doing lessons, sending picture updates, calling the customers. So we have these for each position. I have two sales guys. All they do all day is take sales calls. And then, you have your management staff that's doing their part, dealing with customers, and yeah, that's pretty much it. So we have a whole book. The book's like 140 pages that shows from what chemical we use to how we clean the kennel to how often we clean the kennel to how often we walk the dogs. Everything is dialed in.
So how did you learn how to do all this stuff?
Other people, yeah. So I mean, just continuing to go out and seek that information.
Okay.
Somebody's already doing it good out there. So find out what they're doing and who they are.
Are you a big reader at all? Do you recommend any books, any programs, or any business, anything like that? Did you do?
No, no, it's just trial and error, and then
Are your
trying to meet as
trainers
many people.
commission? Do you
Yeah,
give them
absolutely.
W-2s or
So
are they independent contractors?
no, everybody works for All Dogs Unleashed. Everybody's on the payroll. The way that we set up our pay structure is benefiting the trainer. First of all, they're getting mad tips, like crazy huge tips, which is awesome. But I have three trainers that'll make over 100 grand because of the way the pay structure. So our break-in
Love
trainers
that.
could make
Love
anyway 22 to 25 bucks an hour. But once you get into doing appointments, and now you're meeting with a customer, we comp just the when you go to return a dog, 50 bucks for that lesson with them. I want you to take your time, spend your time with that customer. You've already put in these phone calls. You get a review, 50 bucks. So they may do two or three a day, and then they're getting tips on top of it. So they end up doing extremely well. My buddy Caesar, when he came to work for me, I think he was doing a call center job, making like 40 grand. I just said, hey man, I can't tell you how much you're gonna make right now, as far as like total, but I said I guarantee you're gonna make at least 60 grand. And then he's already at 71 this year. So
Cool. That's 5K a month, man.
yeah, he loves it, man. Yeah. So well, more than that. Yeah.
Yeah, well now no more than that, but 60K is 5K a month, man. That's easy.
Yeah.
It's achievable and
Yeah. He'll probably hit like somewhere in the 90s this year.
dude,
And
I
he
love
he loves it, and he's super awesome. Like we have a lot of athletes that come in, and he's a huge Cowboys fan. So like John Kitna used to be the quarterback for the Cowboys. We just trained his fifth dog. I gave it to Caesar. This Spence guy that's on ESPN, I just gave that one to Caesar too. And we're getting testimonials from these guys too, so we got a bunch of video of it.
nice. Well, and it reflects on him too, Um, and let me see. And he can wear that as a badge of honor as well, man, especially if he's a football fan, right?
Yeah, oh, huge Cowboys fan. He can tell you the plays in the game from like 2000.
Dude,
Like
that's
what?
got to be
Yeah.
a thrill for him,
Oh, he loves it, man. And he's a good looking dude, so he takes great pictures with them.
There you go. So, how many pictures do you have your trainers take with
Just
the?
halfway through the training, we'll send
Okay.
pictures. Yeah, so basically they'll go out, they'll like make a little video and picture with the dog, send the update, type up like how the dog's doing. So typically the dog gets dropped off. They talk to the salesperson. Within 2 days, the trainers got their hands on the dog. They work with the dog. Then they call the customer. They've gone over the issue list. So we have a very detailed issue list that makes it simple for the customer.
All
Us
online.
to identify online,
Okay.
and we scan it. We have them fill it out on handwritten too. We have
Okay.
them feel the e-collar when they show up. Like everything is real transparent.
What kind of
Like,
e-collar do you use?
Greg Van Kuren's got the best collar, baby. And you get to brand it, so it's cool. And we use the Mayhar cots. We got those branded. So we want to
Okay.
brand as much All Dogs Unleashed stuff as we can and send it home with this customer.
Cool. I got all my stuff branded too. How much
Yeah.
oversight for quality control do your trainers need?
Excuse me, I'm sorry, what was the question?
How much oversight of quality control do your trainers need?
So anytime they're all kind of working together, which is the cool part about it. So when we're out there working dogs, and I mean, there's like 4 or 5 of us going right next to each other. So you're basically, anytime you're struggling with something, somebody's going to see it. And then we're out constantly, weekly going through with the trainers. All right, which dog's going home? Show me that dog. Here's where we're struggling. Here's where we can do better. Easy stuff like that. The hardest is like dogs that don't want to take your food. They have nervous issues. So we do a
Oh,
lot of just
dude.
we do a lot of like up and down walking with them with the cots,
Get them to
getting their
loosen
spirit.
up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
loosen
loosen.
up a little
Let
bit, cheer them up.
dude, you're
Because at
not.
the end of the day, like, you don't want a dog that looks submissive in position. You want a dog that's happy to go to the place bed, that's happy to sit in the
Well, and
position,
sometimes they're
and
just
you're not beating them
neurotic.
down.
Right.
Oh,
Sometimes they're
yes.
just neurotic ass dogs. Like I just had, like I've got this piano over here, and one of my clients owns all these music stores here, and I'm like, dude, I'll give me your dog, let me work with them, and I'll just trade a musical instrument. So we did a little trade out barter thing. His dog was so neurotic, I had to take him back because he got some stress colitis pretty bad. Like he started crapping blood, and I'm just like, oh goodness. And it's not fun, man. Like some of these dogs, they just like, you just have some issues that you run into. And it was like I was trying everything I could to keep this dog spirit. And even like when I brought him home, he's like happy. But it's just some dogs, man. What do you do with if you get dogs like that? Like I had to call the owner and just be like, you got to bring him home, man. It's gonna, and he's fine now, perfectly
Oh,
fine.
yes.
But that shit happens. Like some dogs just have a hard time with this.
Yeah, we always want to think about like, okay, what's best for the dog. If a dog's just completely shutting down and just it's not going like well, and we don't see any light at the end of the tunnel, we'll just call the owner and switch it to an in-home, and we'll explain like, hey, whatever. We'll give them the difference. We'll credit them anything that they want. But we want to do what's best for the dog, because if you don't, and say that dog stops eating, the dog I mean, who knows? There's all kinds of, especially having a big kennel, like the health issues with the dogs is
Yeah.
super
Well, you
important. And we
gotta,
have to track it like
you have to track
really
it.
cleanly. Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, you have to track it because they can get lost in the
Yeah,
shuffle, man.
we're
You
doing
know.
weights, halfway through the training. The dogs are getting clean, staying clean. So it's a lot of work, man. But the back crew is really the ones that are doing a lot of that. They're like the front line of everything. The guys that are feeding, watering, walking, bathing.
Yeah.
That's the harder job.
Well, and that's where that's what the importance of SOP, of standard operating position, or
Yeah.
protocols, and
And
just
we
having.
overstaff just knowing that somebody might not come in. But
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, I
just
gotta love people. So I posted up a link to this book, man. So it's the Kaizen method, and I'm gonna shoot back there because just the way that you run things, Brian. I would love for you to check out this book, and I would love for you to give it to your staff too, and basically what this is that how it's like one small step can change your life. And he talks about how in the Tao Te Ching, they talk about Lao Tzu says, in the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, right? And Toyota, Yamaha, um, there's so many companies in Japan, Sony, that have adopted the Kaizen methodology. And what it is like if you see something as an employee that we can do here, that's a small change that makes this place run a little bit better, you're encouraged not just to speak up, but you're encouraged to make the change and to communicate the change yourself, right? And it might even be like moving the trash can from the floor level to like a few inches higher to right here to make your process just like 2 seconds faster, right? And they do
and,
these.
and it's funny that
Yeah.
you say that, because when we started doing that, like me and Travis were not the most organized because we're just two guys, but when we hired Mark, he did that to our whole place and organized everything. But we also spent a lot more money because it was like, all right, we're gonna get big fridges for the rooms. Now because raw is so huge now, everybody's bringing raw food, so each we bought everything that we would have possibly need
Yeah,
to
yeah.
run it effectively. So we were reluctant, but man, now that I walk through every day and see how organized and well put together it is, it's definitely awesome.
Well, it brings a sense of calm, You know, it brings, and not only that, but the workflow, it's reflective in that, right? And that's what they say. So I posted up a link to the book, One Small Change. One Small Step Can Change Your Life, the Kaizen methodology. Check it out. Highly recommend it. And it sounds like you're there, dude. Like it sounds like you're like almost there like this. That's why I recommend for you to check
Oh,
this
okay.
out, because it's going to be, I think that it would just like dovetail nicely with what you're doing already. Now, what do you envision for the future? What do you
Yeah, I
guys
mean, I want to
thinking?
have an all dogs unleashed in every state. So the big franchise thing is, you know,
How are the dogs lodged? And a shout out
yeah.
to
So they get
Martin.
like 3x5 glass tempered stalls.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and if you go to alldogsunleashed.com, you can see the pictures of the
I'm
facility
going
and
there right
stuff.
now,
Yeah, check it
man.
out.
Unleashed.
But really, the goal is, I look at the franchise world and I see places like Camp Bow Wow, Dogtopia, and then when I research more into them and then compare them apples to apples, it's just there's not a lot of comparison because we took the dog training aspect of it and their concept as well, but with the dog training, we're getting say 160 plus per day for the training, as to where you're getting $50 a day for the boarding. So it's just there's way more spread in that, and especially when our kennel's filled with like 80% training dogs and
There you go.
20% boarding.
Over here, our facility. I don't know if you got a bigger picture, but yeah. And then we got the reflective influence from all the clients, man. You know, well, I love the, so we got the training here, and so this is just kind of a broad questionnaire that you would get, and then you would follow up, or this would go to your sales.
That would go to the sales team. So Ian
Okay.
and Matthew would contact you instantly and and be like, hey, what kind of dog do you have? How old? And what types of issues are you having, or what would be some of your training concerns?
Cool, man. And then we have here, let's see, we have board and train.
Yep, board and train, the in-home training where we come to the house, and then just boarding and daycare. And for grooming, we did haircuts for a while, but finding a good groomer and just everything that goes along with the haircuts, because it's a very emotional thing for some people, we just stay away from it. But what we can do is bath, brush, ears, nails, really simple stuff. No one ever gets mad. So it's great service to have.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And then let's see, we got all the testimonials here. Look at it, love it,
And,
man.
and some of those testimonials, believe it or not, are from 2007. Like my parents, I think, are one of them. It's funny. I mean, we were just two young kids, but yeah. So, but honestly, we have so many different. Like we have 700 plus reviews on Google, Yelp, all that stuff. So, um,
Well, it's all about, you guys have what'd you say, 78 dogs right now?
yeah, and honestly, a lot of them are referrals, man, and that's why it's so important to do a good job, treat people fairly, stay in contact with them with the issues. So one of a lot of things happen too is you fall out of contact with people. So we started a week, or like I think it's a weekly or biweekly email that goes out that just adds value to them and reminds them that you're there. And we have a list of, I mean, I think we had when we started the list, it was like 120,000 emails, and we scrubbed the list a couple times, got it down to like 40,000. But we have that in our market that we're constantly staying in contact with, which leads to a lot of continued revenue. And
Yeah,
then
of
we're
course.
in the process of looking for a second location here in the DFW as well.
Well, and Adrian's actually in Austin, so I'm sure if
Oh
she
yeah,
wants to
we have
come
one
over and,
down there. Yeah,
well, they're
there's
come.
Simon's down there.
Okay,
He was one of our trainers, and then he went and started the Austin market.
cool. And I'm definitely going to be coming down to Texas. I
And
love Texas.
Austin's so fun. I love that place. My little brother was just down there. I was so jealous earlier this week.
I want to go. Yeah, I'm definitely going to go and hang out and now how do you so you have classes, training classes, group classes, or no?
No, no group sessions.
Okay,
Yeah, no, we keep it
that's
simple.
interesting.
We think that, or at least I feel or think that when you give people way too many options, it's very difficult for them to make a decision when you have like six programs, right? So we got two programs, whichever one's gonna be best for you. You want us to come to the house, you want us to keep the dog. So it keeps it really simple, keeps the decision making process really simple. And we have a set call flow that helps,
Do you foresee in the future maybe events opening up or something to keep a hold of your clients, or um, I don't know. I
we
mean,
haven't had any like major events, but I don't anything like that. We just do things like for holidays. We have a rewards program.
okay,
We're doing Christmas pictures, the fun stuff.
yeah, memory making things, and yeah, man. I mean, it sounds like you're doing good. How long have you had that facility there? When did you guys open
So
it?
we moved into that one, and so we got our first facility. It was like 2009, 10-ish. That was after I went home and I said I was like, I'm gonna break. But we got a facility and we moved into that, and then we bought some land like 4 years into that facility, and we started building. And that was one of the most challenging times of my life because the construction was supposed to be done in like a year, and it took 2.5 years. And the building that we were leasing, somebody else leased it while we were still in it, and he was gonna sublease it to us for like a little bit more than we were paying, but then he knew that he had us in a tight position, and we were paying $20,000 or $17,500 a month for 4,000 square feet, and we were paying on the building that was being built. So it was a really tough. That was a really tough year and a half. But we made it to the finish line, and owning the property, man, what a blessing, to actually like two kids from Iowa came down, and now we own a city block. We got 2 buildings on it, so it's really cool. And we're
Yeah.
actually going to be building another building, so we're going to make our corporate office there.
Do you see like dock diving or anything there, or?
No, we do. So on our second building, me and Travis got really into protection training. I don't know, maybe
Okay.
like 8 or 9 years ago. So I had a dog, Ike. I was IGP3. I started in
Oh,
PSA, and he was just a nutcase, and I couldn't contain him. And actually, it wasn't until I went out and I found Randall Holdley DFW Working Dogs helped me get Ike to an IGP3, which is really cool. We got first place in tracking in a couple different trials. Got first place in regionals. I got a perfect track. It was pretty sweet for his IGP2,
nice.
but it was high in tracking. But that was really fun, and that's when I got to go out and they see like, okay, there's different training out here that's way like when I
There's
first got.
some niches. There's some
Yeah,
niches.
exactly. So you got your Bart Belonge, your Ivans, and then just everything in between. Mike Lorraine, one of the best dog trainers I've ever met, just amazing. But and then guys from all the world, and it's been a blessing to be able to train with some of these people. And there's just levels to it, when you go to these competitions. I went and did a national competition. And yeah, he was never, my training was not good enough. It wasn't the dog, because the dog was amazing. So,
Ike.
yeah, Ike was a bad dog, man. I loved him to death. And, but yeah, that whole part was fun. But when he passed away, I haven't gotten a new dog. So actually, I'm a dog trainer currently without a dog because with the children and the business and everything that's been going on, and it's just hard to jump back into a dog. And then I don't know, I might want to do a working dog again, but I'm just waiting till I get uh,
Good
back to a different
opportunity.
stage. Yeah, exactly, and the
Well,
right dog too, because Ike was too much. I want a dog that's not so much over the top.
okay. Yeah, Malinois, I assume.
Malinois was fun, yeah. The
Is
only
that
thing I
what
don't
Ike
like about
was?
it
Or
was
was
yeah, he was, well,
okay,
he
yeah.
was a Malinois, but he had some pit bull in him. I got him
Oh
from
wow.
Lazaro Cabrera, who imported him from over there. So
That's a crazy mix there, man.
yeah,
That's
his family was all
serious
military. He
dog.
was NVBK dog. Yeah.
Okay.
First time I met him, he threw down a wood box, like just like a placeboard box, and I started chunking, like ripping chunks out of the box. He was attacking the wood, and wood was like flying, and Laz is like, no. No, like, I was like, what the heck is this thing? I paid how much for him?
For
Yeah,
this crazy dog,
yeah, it
man.
was scary. He was scary, man. Yeah, for sure.
That's where you'll always remember that because you're
I
like,
always
what
laugh
am I
because
getting
it's
myself into right now, man? What am I doing?
people got bit. I ain't gonna lie. People got bit. I was in clubs. It was all sanctioned, but people got bit. There
Well,
was blood.
and you were doing PSA with them too, or no?
I did PSA. We got our first, not PSA one. We just did the first one or whatever. Basically, it's obedience. And then there's no way he would lose it, decoys, any like over top stuff. So I was like, okay, IGP is going to be a much better fit. Tracking, loved it. Me and him, we tracked all the time. We spent like I would literally track him at night, day. He was fantastic. Great
Cool.
tracking dog. Obedience, he was fast, flashy. It was great, but he was really chewy on the dumbbell, so I lost a lot in my retrieves.
Okay.
He would just chomp that wood, man. He was just really hard to get a steady. He was so
Nice
nervy.
hold with it.
Yeah, and you get crushed in there for that. And then his protection, if he could make it through without with outing, his protection looks really good. But I got DQ'd from a couple. But I think I had two 282s with him for his IGP3s,
Okay.
which was really nice. And then I've been DQ'd from some tournaments too. So
Well, and it's all about that tracking for him too, I guess. So
that's one I always knew he was gonna do good.
what kind of focus is that intensity, man? You know,
It's
I
it's
love it.
the food driven, so the tracking just build a lot of hope in it, have a lot of fun with it, and once he got into it, it became fun for him.
Well, I could see, like, I'm thinking about, down the road to myself getting a working dog and maybe doing some trial, or I want to actually do PSA with him, and so I want to work with John, and we'll see. I mean, I mean, that's what I want to do. It's just kind of I've seen it, I just haven't done it myself, and I just kind of want to cross that bridge myself. It's something that
It's cool, man. So like Derek Rose, he's a big PSA guy here. Koi Farm, these guys have the clubs here, and that's another cool thing about being in the dog sport is we all know each other. Like everybody that's in DFW that's in dog sport, it's great. Like I know who they are, have relationships. I go to the tournaments. So the dog sport community is really cool. I really enjoy it. But having a dog like that per se, people would ask like, how often do you train it? Well, every time he eats, I'm using food and we're doing something. And then when I get down to the kennel, I might be like, Travis, help me with protection, or like, hey, I'm going to do this in obedience. And it takes multiple people to practice these exercises. And even for as much as I train, to compare it to the guys that are the highest level, it's just night and day.
Oh man,
these dogs are perfect. Like no, because
the precision.
When you get to the worlds, there's like everything's a point off, point off, point off. So
Yeah,
the guys that score the highest, it's crazy.
Well, and it's next level, and that's what even Dr. Ravi Iyer was saying. Is like he said a quote. I can remember who told him that, but it said, "Training my working dog is not the same as training dogs."
No, pet training is way easy, way different. That's no comparison.
So when you found this niche, what is there any other niches that you've found? I mean, the bed bug niche is another one that I've really geek out on. I was actually just watching some bed bug videos of these beagles, but that's my niches tend to gravitate towards the scent work, the nose work.
Yeah.
But like the bed bug stuff, like diabetic alert dogs, seizure alert dogs. They're starting to train dogs on an enzyme that's found in the heart for heart attacks. So
Yeah, no, I have not dipped into anything like that, or considered it. And, people would ask a lot, like, "Hey, how come you guys don't do stuff with protection?" I have not found a lot of ways to make money in the protection world. There's so many more pet customers than we just stay in that lane.
it's such a niche, that I mean, it's passionate dog people, and there's really a void in the pet industry as far as like what people want and what you can provide that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like, why provide something that they never really want in the first place, man? And their eyes glass over, and they're just like, they just want a cool dog, man. They want a
Yeah.
cool dog that they can trust, and not only that, but they want a dog that reflects positively, makes them reflect positively in the world, and their experience with that dog is like the one that they dream about, and that's all they want.
Yeah, I remember my first dog when I was a kid, and I'd come home after a bad day at school and sit on the back porch and tell this golden retriever about my day, and it just made me feel better. It's like that dog, I'd always think about that dog, Cisco.
Yeah.
And but yeah,
And it's
dogs
like,
do so much for people.
and you're not out there going, Cisco sit, Cisco down, Cisco.
We were just chilling on the porch.
That's
Yeah.
exactly it, man.
No,
And it's
that's
like just
it.
you're just being with that dog. And
Yeah.
like people will give me these pretty far fetched tales about their dogs, and sometimes I'm like, awesome, because I mean that's their story with their dog, and I could absolutely destroy it as a dog trainer.
My favorite thing is like when people tell me the story of what they imagined the dog's life was before they had it. So he was a rescue, so he was probably this or that, and they're just like, the imagination is just crazy, like all the guesswork.
That's what even Action Bronson, who's this hip hop artist that I trained his beagle, and they found the beagle in the Brooklyn, wandering the streets of Brooklyn. And Action's got this whole backstory of this dog wheeling and dealing cocaine, and like doing. She was wilding, man, and
Got
she
kicked
wanted
out
to,
of her man's house.
yeah, whatever. And I'm just like, I was like, who knows what she was up to, man? But that's it. And not only, you know what I love, asking the nicknames. I'm like, what's the nicknames?
Oh, that's a great one. That's a good icebreaker too.
And it's so, dude, because they just come out with some like one of my I'm like, what's the nickname of your dog? He's like, idiot.
No, yeah.
And I'm like, but in a nice way. It was a nice idiot. If it wasn't, I mean,
Yeah.
it wasn't vindictive, but or I mean, they just have some weird names, or but that's a great icebreaker too. I also I ask, who in the family does the dog listen to the most?
Yeah, that's a great question too.
And a lot of times it's the young kid. And I've told my clients I've seen way more talent in their kids a lot of times that I've even seen in all my colleagues. You know what I'm saying?
Ma'am, I'm gonna tell you, you're not doing so hot, but your boy over there's got something.
Yeah,
So
totally.
next time you just don't even have to be here, Like,
Yeah,
I'll just come, we can hang out. He can tell you. I'm just not seeing it in you.
Yeah, sorry. No. But you have
ain't
to
gonna
make it
like-
work, But I mean, I'm just trying to think of things that oh geez.
Yeah, I'm terrible with a client that like knows what to do, just choosing not to do it, but then still asking for help.
Mm.
But I'm
How
just
do you
very
handle that?
direct and forward.
Okay.
Just tell me what you did, and they're like, well, we see what the problem is. Well, I don't want this. Well, I can tell you my dog doesn't do that, and I did this, so I recommend doing this. And it is what it is, But if you have to have the nerve to be able to say that to them politely,
Yeah.
And it goes anytime you deal with an issue, you got to reflect and ask, stick to the facts, and then let's problem solve. That's all you can do. You got to keep your emotions out of it.
Well, and know that they're in front of you. They're working. They're showing up.
Yeah, exactly. They do
know?
care, and they
Yeah.
know. Like
They
like,
know.
you know what's up. Yeah, like Susie.
Yeah, and be like, how much did you work with that dog? And then like even one time they're like, I was like, okay, now let me see the dad work the dog. And then the dad, they're like, he never works the dog. I'm at home. And I'm like, what? I'm
They
like,
stitch each other.
yeah, totally. And I'm like, you never worked the dog at home? I was like, dude, you gotta work the dog at home because
even 5-10 minutes. The dog has to learn from because they're like autistic, right? You could show an autistic person a plane, and they show them another plane. They're like, what's that? Well, that's a plane too. Oh, weird. And they show them another plane. Oh, what's that? That's a plane too. It's not until you show them like 15, 20 planes that these are all planes, and these are the features that a plane has. With a dog, like he knows, oh, this dude makes me do this. Oh, but dad, he's not going to make me do this. So they have to work with. That's why we have multiple trainers working with each dog, because it helps a lot with the transition back to the owner. Because when they get back to the owner, they're going to look at mom and be like, oh, everybody knows like you were weak, or like I could get away with whatever, you allowed it. So they fight the owner a little bit more, but they do a lot less when you're working them with multiple people prior to returning them.
Love it. Love it. Makes perfect sense because it helps the dog generalize and get used to multiple handlers. And
not just me, not just her, yeah, exactly.
Well, and the nuances that you have, even as a professional, I mean, you just fall into these little like work roles, right? Or work training roles wherever you're at. And sometimes that could be a little different that the dog just picks up on that specific thing, right? And then now the other thing that I do, Brian, is I'll actually give my clients one of my trained dogs to handle.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll be like, now tell him heel, right? Because then it gets one of my dogs, to be handled by somebody else, and then they can feel what it feels like. I'll be like, now turn left and walk into that dog and watch him get out of your, or, he'll watch himself and he'll stay at your left side, right? And now turn around and just walk like you want to walk normally, and try to trick him up a little bit. See what it feels like to have this dog that's been aware of your position and what a trained dog handling a trained dog feels like. I do that as well, and sometimes sometimes it's just fun, but
Yeah.
it's sometimes people are like, okay, cool, this is awesome, this is amazing.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Like my arm is not falling or being pulled out of its socket, right? And that's mostly for my big polars. I'll do that too. It's just like, isn't this nice? Like walking around with this
Yeah.
dog, isn't this experience good? Like you have, and now stop. I'll tell them stop. So watch the dog sit with the heel. And I'm like, see, now we can have a conversation without you worrying. Now you know exactly where your dog is. And then you can calm, and the calm is huge, man. Like calm and just being able to be present and calm and not crazy, manic, lose your temper, all that stuff.
Oh yeah, no, if you shouldn't have to change your tone. Everybody knows it's effective to like clap, get their attention, snap your fingers at times, but yelling at your dog, if they think like, well, he's not even yelling yet, like I don't have to come yet, he's not even at that level. So that's the nice thing about the training collar too, is like you can start on a low level, and if they're just kind of like ignoring you, it's just a little bit, and then like, all right, here I come.
Yep.
Especially a dog that already knows it. You wouldn't do that to a dog that doesn't know.
Well, it breaks through that stimulus in the environment too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I say it's like a tap on the shoulder when the voice doesn't work, or maybe when the dog is too distracted. It kind of cuts through that clutter where the dog knows who's chatting with them, without a doubt.
What do you tell people with the collar when it comes to like aggression?
Well, I want that dog. I mean, first and foremost, I want to know if this dog, what this aggression is, and typically it's fearful, right? It's
Yeah.
fearful aggression, and I have to have that dog has to know the right answer, if anything. And so I want the dog to know the right answer, meaning that the dog has to have some association with the obedience that I've done with them, and then I'm going to overlay the collar with that, and so the dog knows that this collar is coming from me, not this other dog. First
Yeah,
and foremost,
exactly.
right? I don't want to go into a situation where the dog, excuse me, thinks that this other dog is causing the stimulus, right?
Yeah, all that work should be done prior to like the engagement.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to be using it for, I mean, just to keep that dog's interest with me, but also, I mean, I might put him in a situation where that dog, I'm never going to let that dog reach that other dog, right?
Yeah,
But
that's great.
I'm going to let that dog, I'm going to put him in a situation where I give that dog an opportunity to discern if the dog wants to go after this dog or wants to follow me.
Yeah, give him a chance to
That's
learn.
right. And if he chooses the wrong answer, then there will be consequences for that at an aversive level. Typically, depending on the situation, the dog, but that's what I am, just kind of my mind's eye stream of consciousness. But then I'm right there with that dog too, and even when I praise that dog, I'm hitting that collar. I'm letting that dog know, hey, this is me, man. This isn't always necessarily like consequences don't mean it's always bad. Consequences are just sequences coming together for an outcome, and it could be good or bad. But I want that dog, and I got to trust that dog. And so I want to see how far away I can get from whatever this dog that's causing the aggression. First and foremost, I want to know if the aggression is a fight drive, if it's real, and if this is a serious dog. If that's the case, then that whole protocol is going to be totally different. Like I'm not even going to like it's a totally different like.
Yeah, when a
We're
dog
back.
truly wants to kill the other dog, like
Yeah,
they're gonna, like the collar is not gonna fix it. It's
we're
like,
work back at square one if we
yeah,
have some fight drive or some serious, some serious red flags there. But that's not about 90% of the cases, not
yeah.
that.
Most of them are easy. Yeah.
Yeah,
Every once
fearful,
in a
and
while
once
you
I
get a
see
dog
it,
over the top that just really is a
yep, and I'm like, dude,
sidelight.
don't go that way, man. And then once you come to me for comfort, then I'm going to show you that that's the awesome idea, and then we're going
Mhm.
to try to just kind of map those thresholds where that dog is getting overwhelmed, and to where that dog can tolerate that other dog in the environment, and then I'm watching that stress level on that dog to kind of ease up. But I mean, it's just so nuanced with each case. It's individual,
Yeah, it absolutely is. You're right.
So what
Yeah, the only
about?
thing I always make sure to tell people is that the collar is not what's going to fix the aggression. And for sure, if a dog is in a fight, it's not going to do anything but make things way worse.
Yeah,
So, like you said, having the dog far enough to where it's never going to be able to engage and just working on recall reward,
yep,
showing them that, hey, come to me, you're going to like it over here, buddy.
yep.
That's really what you can do.
Well, know
And
that
then
it's a
just a lot of repetition.
ritualistic. Yeah, it's a ritualistic. And the first couple times, that dog's like, "Oh yeah, dude, I'm all about this." Like going to go get his, cash some other dog's check that he's writing with his
Yeah.
ass. But he has to know that you got to think differently, man. And that's what I tell these dogs. Like, look, you gotta. That's not gonna work. We
What do
gotta.
they say? What
what,
do they
what
say when you say that?
what they got to think differently.
Yeah, what do the dogs say back? No, I'm just joking.
Well, a lot of times they say, "I got to think differently."
Yeah.
That's what they say.
Or
They're
they
like
just
they're like,
indifferent.
"Holy shit, I got to think differently." That was not what I was expecting, and the key is to let that hold its weight and let the process take hold, and then get to the point where the dog is actually kind of looking out for that. And also when we set up that dog and the dog, and you can see that old kind of pattern starts to arise, its ugly head, and then that dog corrects himself. It's like, oh shit, what am I doing? And then that's when I'm like, there's my guy.
Yeah, it's really explosive. And it's cool to see those transformations when they do, overcome it.
Yeah, and you can see, and that's it, man. It's like, I don't want robots. Like, I don't
No,
want robots. I
yeah.
want a dog that's alive, that experiences that there's another dog over there, dude. There's another dog over there. There's a cat right there. There's a chicken. Like, I want, just like you were saying about, walking and encountering all these people and managing that dog. Like, we can't control the world, dude, but we can train our dog, right? And that's where I advocate for, is we have to be able to train this dog, because we're going to encounter chaos. That's just how the world works. A bus full of children can stop here at any minute, drop off 100 screaming kids. God, no, not here. But I'm just
Yeah, right at your house, at
right
your
here, right
property.
now, man. I would have a freaking panic attack, lock myself in the bathroom.
You'd be holding your dog like,
Yeah,
Ash,
totally.
eh.
But that's it. It's like we always have a plan B. But we work on training that dog, and we work on helping that dog accept and generalize what we're trying to say to them, right? And it just comes with the process, man, of doing the work. No going around or over or under. You have to go through it, right?
Oh, for sure, yeah. You got to put in the work to get better.
Yes, we do. So what's the best way that people can get a hold of you? And if there's anybody watching this right now that's interested in franchise or anything like that, how do they?
Yeah, so you can check out my Instagram. It's Brian Claeys Official. And sorry, it sounds cheesy, but I literally all the Brian Claeys combinations were taken. And then
So,
TikTok, Brian Claeys.
not the official one,
My
wasn't
email. Yeah, I still have one. It's mine now, right?
it?
Otherwise, I mean, you can put my cell on here. If anybody has any questions, they can call or text me. My number is 214-422-1203.
There you go. Everybody prank Brian.
But the cool thing, yeah, the cool thing about the franchise, say like you have an existing dog training business and you've been doing it out of your house for long. Well, guess what? If you don't change something, you'll be doing it out of your house still in 10 years. So if you want to get away from, you know, having that kind of setup, this is something that is super profitable and does extremely well in markets that are highly populated, especially, you know. Just for instance, like last year we did 4.1 million out of our facility. That was like the best year that we had. But then this year we're about going to hit 5. So it's just insane. Like once you grow the community and you're doing the right things, how I mean, the Camp Bow Wow is the #1 pet franchise out there, over 200 and some locations, and their highest location did like 2.2 million or something like that.
Right.
So it's just a big difference, and especially when you have the work ethic, you have the skill set. Now it's just about time to get a bigger fish tank, you know?
Yeah.
But the cool thing about our brand is, you know, we spent so much money on our website, Bill, that when he went into Denver, he's been in Denver for a couple years, but now when you search dog training Denver, he's like #2. You know, if you search dog training Dallas, we're #1 across everything.
Awesome.
If you search dog training Kansas City, same thing. He's in the top 3. But that SEO, that search engine optimization, really is the key to getting free leads and then being aggressive through the marketing. We just do a lot of paid ads, Google, Facebook, Instagram, stuff like that. And just keep the dogs coming in.
Awesome, man. I can't wait to come down there and check you out. See the facility myself.
Yeah, we'll take you out in the lake, man. Get you out in the sun.
Oh, man, that's all I need.
Yeah,
with my ginger in the sun.
Yeah, we got a shade for you.
Yeah, there we go. As long as I got a shade.
SPF 120 or something.
Yeah, I need that.
Yeah, the sun will call and be like, "Hey, can you tell Bill to turn down the SPF on us?"
Yeah, well, and I'll be out there and I'll be like, "Hey, what's barbecuing?" And they'll be like, "Nothing, man." I'll be like,
Yeah.
It'll be my shoulder. That's nice.
Yeah, it's funny.
I love.
But yeah, no. Anytime you want to come down here, just let me know. I'm more than happy to host you.
Cool. I'm definitely gonna hit you up and take you up on that. Anything else that you want to mention at all while we're here?
No, I just want to say I really appreciate this. I mean, we met 7 years ago at an IACP concert, our IACP conference,
it should be concert.
Not concert. But so that was really cool. And then just kind of watching you over the years, and then other people that I met there, you know, the other trainers that I've seen continue to be successful and do a great job out there. There's a lot of people that I follow and look and continue to learn from. I mean, that's the one thing is like, you know, you want to know who the best dog trainer in the world is, Bill?
Yes.
Nobody knows, man. Nobody's ever met him. But guess what? That person probably learned it from somebody else.
I think it's Omar von Mueller.
Yeah.
Have you seen him with his dogs walking around on? Oh man, his dogs.
No, it's just like you think about like what's the best song. Whoever is the best is the one that markets themselves the best. But no one, anybody that would call themselves the best is not the best, you know, because it's a learning game. You're continuing to learn, and I've seen the best of the world, and they'll talk about the people who's they've sat in and watched, you know, and they learn from. So the cool thing about dog training is you're never going to be the best. You're always going to learn something from somebody else. So it's a really cool thing to be in.
Well, and if you think you're the best, you're dead in the water, man. You're gonna find a dog.
You can't learn anything new. That's what somebody told me the best is. I'm the best. Well, that means you can't learn anything new, and you're not open-minded, and sometimes you have to be.
Well, and so that just you're gonna get a dog that's gonna come across your path. That's gonna bite holes in all your little.
Yeah.
You know, that's just how it happens, man.
We just had one of our guys get bit yesterday. He like went to, not in our location here, but our Minneapolis location. He went to pick up a dog, and he said the dog nudged the muzzle off, and then he tried to something happened. He ended up getting bit. So it just happens, man. I got bit plenty of times. I remember the last time I got bit was this dog Fortune, and it latched onto my arm. And my business partner Travis is there. I was like, "Hey man, help me out." He's like, he's getting me like he's in my arm. And he sees blood and he starts to faint. So he's like, "Whoa, man!" He's like, "I gotta chill." He starts laying down. I'm like, "Dude, I had to get 7 stitches, and we took Fortune home. I didn't get any money. We gave them all their money back, and it cost me like $800 to get stitched up. So it's not fun."
Yep, it comes with the territory, man. It's the hazards of the business, and there is a bitey end of the dog.
One guy said, he's like, so what do I do? Just like charge the customer the doctor bill? I'm like, no, man, you're the dog trainer. You got bit. Like that's
You're the dog. You're supposed to
yeah,
get bit. If anybody here is
yeah,
gonna get bit, it's you,
yeah. Like,
dude. You know?
everybody's cool with you walking the plank, you know?
Yeah. Well, that's what my client was like. Oh my God, I am so sorry he bit you. And I'm like, I'm glad he bit me instead of her or her
Yeah,
or her,
exactly,
you know,
exactly. We're
because
chums.
and it's like that's what my job is, dude. I forgot to mention, and this is what we were talking about my Patreon. So if you guys like what I do, support me on Patreon. Bow Wow Bills, and I owe a couple Patreon Zoom calls that I'll be doing. So check me out on there, and if you like what I do, join me there, and that's it, man. So
Yeah, I love the
patreon.com.
content. You're an amazing person, Bill. Thank you again for the opportunity to be on here.
Oh, my
And I'll
pleasure,
definitely
man.
be watching in the future.
Well, if you guys don't know, Brian's on TikTok, and
Yeah, the 41-year-old dog trainer on TikTok.
yeah, it's so
That's
poor.
funny.
It feels so funny, but
I know, right?
follow him there and check him out. I just put on the Patreon a link to that in the comments below. And Brian, stay there. I'm gonna say goodbye to you in the studio, but let's say bye to everybody here.
Yeah, thank you everybody for watching. Appreciate it.
Thank you, everybody. Hold on, I got a couple messages, and now I'm gonna end the podcast or broadcast.